Today on the Andrew Ferris podcast, my COO and business partner in AJF Growth, Patrick Kadu. You know him from building and selling supply razors in public. If you don't know him, maybe you know him from recently coming on the show and talking about how we're building a business together. Or maybe you don't know him and you're just going to like him anyway. Patrick and I are going to talk. We're going to start doing this, I think, every month, where we're going to start talking about what we are seeing for early to mid 8-figure e-commerce businesses, the folks that are sort of in our core client range, and what we're doing as an agency, how we're building to try to solve the kind of organizational problems and strategic problems that come up for agencies, for brands, for software companies, everybody in our space who's thinking about how to build and grow businesses and sort of what that ecosystem is looking like. Today on the show, we're going to talk specifically about Sora 2, which ChatGPT just released to the public. We're going to talk about the difficulty of building a repeatable process more generally, just how hard it is to do that and why it's important and why we think for agencies and for brands it's really important. And then resisting the proliferation of tools. That is always a thing. Shiny object syndrome, the constant Slack tap on your shoulder, endless notification world that we live in. How do you resist that and actually build deep work? I have thoughts. Patrick has thoughts. Let's get into it. Let's not delay it. Let's get into it right now with Patrick Kadu from AJF Growth. Hello, Patrick.
Hello. I'm excited to talk about these things.
I know. Well, some of this is like you and I probably need to talk about it.
Yeah.
So we might as well record it and just see what happens.
Exactly. Yeah. None of this has been premeditated. I'm actually curious to see where this conversation goes.
Me too. Where do you want to start? You want to start on Sora 2? We should say you're the COO. You tend to, you've got, I don't know. You're the COO. You are building out a lot of our internal processes, but you built and ran a brand as a CEO. Yep. People who don't know you, like you understand how to think strategically about these sort of things too. I'm a little more in the work with our clients day to day. So just to give people a sense of kind of where we're coming from here. Yeah. And some of those things. So Sora 2. Let's talk about Sora 2. Okay. So you have played with Sora 2. Tell people I think people know, but just like very, very quick, what it can do right now, from an AI perspective, like what is the promise of it? I don't even know the total video length that's possible on Sora 2 right now.
Yeah, I think it's like 10 seconds or something.
That's okay. Yeah, that's what I thought. And what are you seeing with like stuff? You've made cool stuff for a client the other day, really cool stuff. And some of the videos I've seen from Sora 2 are like the most impressive AI videos I've seen, the fastest. Yeah. But yeah, what do you think about it?
I think, I think we should set the table by saying AJF Growth doesn't use a ton of AI content in its advertising yet. Yeah. If we do, it's
sort of not video content, but we use AI a ton to write scripts.
Yeah. I mean, production-wise, and when like visuals. Now we do use it for B-roll and for graphics, and we're starting to use it more when it comes to like videos, plug it in B-roll. But we're not making like huge 3-minute ads with AI quite yet. But we're always curious about and I'll just say me, I'm extremely curious as kind of the process guy that's got a whole team, that's pumping out, hundreds of ads each week for our brands. It's hard to, there's always some new tool being announced and released. And, it's one thing to go, oh, that's a cool tool. Like we can do like fancy, shiny things with it. It's another thing to like make it a core part of your stack. And we haven't really like jumped all in on a tool yet. So putting that on the table, one of the things that I think is really interesting about Sora 2 is it represents, I think, the best kind of playground for AI generation. And I say that because, number one, it's completely free and it's almost unlimited. And then on top of that, you're able to see what other people are making and interact with it and kind of play with it and remix it. So a couple things there. I have always been hesitant to play with AI video tools, maybe because I'm cheap and I should stop being so cheap. But like every time you make a video in any one of these tools, it's a certain number of dollars based on the tool, and if I want to go just play and make hundreds of videos, that adds up pretty quick. And if I want to ask my editors to go play and make hundreds of videos, that adds up pretty quick. So Sora is really cool because I can literally just go make a bunch of prompts using our ad briefing tool, dump them into Sora, go do some other things, come back and see what happened. And so it's a great learning tool.
How long does it take for the video generation?
So you can generate 3 concurrently, and each one takes roughly, I'd say, a minute. I haven't really.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah, it's pretty quick. So, yesterday I spent maybe an hour playing with it, and I probably made 30 or 40 of them. And so there's that piece of it. The other piece we haven't implemented yet, but like, I actually want you to get an account. I want other people to get an account, because I've posted on my account all of the ad stuff that I've kind of been playing with. And what you can do is now you can come in and you can kind of remix my stuff that I've made, and you can go, oh, that's cool. I kind of like that. What if we tried it a different way? So
you can prompt edit the video.
Yes.
As opposed to just building from scratch.
Yeah. So think of it like TikTok. You're flipping through it, and you can like, comment, and then, prompt edit. And so it's kind of a fun way. So not only that, but then you can prompt edit anybody else's stuff. So there's like kind of a viral one going around now where a kid opens a Christmas present. He's like, oh, wow, a COVID test. Or he's like, oh, wow, a bill from the IRS. And I was like, so I turned it into a fruitcake for one of our clients. And so I wouldn't have come up with that idea if it weren't for the fact that I was kind of flipping through the feed, looking at some other stuff. So I've used Sora more as like a brainstorming and like playground than, well, by the way, it's, in my opinion, the best video generation tool out there currently, easily. So if you wanted to use it, and by the way, it's got APIs that plug into all kinds of things that people are already making Sora videos through other tools as well, like ArcAds and other stuff. But if you just want to start playing with some free video generation, like, that's a great, fast, fun way to do it.
My feel for so many of these tools that they're a lot of promise, but that like there's been like not quite there yet for video generation. And I mean something really specific with that, which is that like, it's not that they actually aren't there. It's just that they require so much wrangling at the level of like incredible prompting and sort of reprompting and so much work. And then you run up against limits, like you said, and that makes the process actually pretty tedious. And so I have resisted the like full embrace of a lot of this stuff yet, because it has just felt like it's gonna be there, but like it just feels like potentially a big time suck in the short term for relatively little output. My feeling watching you work with Sora 2 and what you've sent so far is that just changed. That and maybe I was using the wrong models. Like this is certainly not an area where I'm like going to be thinking on the leading edge here. But like I think when I watch that, it's the first time I've gone like, these videos are really cool. They look and feel 100% real and great, and they're fun and interesting. And I think that social element that you're describing is also really interesting, because it just really does provide this kind of other element of what's possible. So that leads to all kinds of questions. What were you gonna say?
Well, there's another piece, like, so I've sent you a lot of good videos, but you haven't seen the ones that I had to prompt and reprompt and reprompt and reprompt and like finally gave up because it just wouldn't. For example, it's really bad at like eating stuff, and I had to eat a fruit. I can't do it. The other challenge is it works really well for generic stuff like eating a passion fruit or something, but we have clients that have very specific products, that can't, you've seen some people on like X, mock up like, hey, I've got this package of gummy bears that I've been able to get AI to do really well. But we have some people that have products that just, they cannot be, there's just no way to model them in AI. So it really kind of cuts out a lot of, you can't show the product. So what can you do? Well, you could do some like fun street interview style stuff. There are other ways to think about incorporating it, but one thing you've taught me to be really good at is we never start making our ads from the execution details. We always start from the message, and then we see how the B-roll or the assets can support the message. And for now, we have never found ourselves going, we can't really support this message with our assets. Like, we need new assets to support this message. And so that's why we've kind of not really felt the urge to go to AI yet. But I want to start developing those muscles internally so that we can start to do that more.
Taylor Holiday. So this is where my mind goes with this. Taylor had tweeted a while ago now, something that stuck out to me, and I think stuck out to a lot of people in the world of AI, which was something to the effect of, so much energy and time is being put in right now to making AI look real. Like if AI video look real, and that's the wrong use of AI. The right use of AI is to instead use AI to make things that are obviously fake but really fun and interesting, or whatever, however he phrased it, But that was the idea. It was like, don't try to make things that look real. Instead, do things that are crazy. So Sora 2 represents to me the possibility of maybe the easiest pathway to doing that. And I'm thinking about it very specifically in this narrow lens of the hook. So if you go back to what you just referenced is like sort of our philosophy of advertising at AJF Growth, it's like the message is the thing. The message is the core thing. And that's what everything we're doing is in service to the message. Now we can limit the scope of what we need Sora 2 to do for us, which is like, okay, if we have a message we want and it's just a talking head, explain your video or whatever, what we can do is we can say like, okay, if the message, like for a client of ours, is about reducing bloating as an experience, and that's where the ad is going, but you also know there's disproportionate value in creating a great hook in an ad, that early engagement on an ad is a really strong signal to meta and to performance. Then it's like, okay, how can we maybe make our prompting easier we don't need 10 seconds of video. We can get down to 3 to 5 seconds. We can use the hook to create things specifically that are creative and weird and funny and interesting, that are just attention grabbing. That's the point of them. Then we could, then maybe we can sort of narrow, again, create a more defined sandbox of saying like, we're going to get good at this tool within this hyper-specific way. And that might also help us develop the skills as a team to prompt. So we're just going to leave stuff on the table. Because one of the other things I feel in this whole conversation is this sort of constant pressure to embrace every new tool. And that sort of works against the actual operationalization of things. Instead, it's just to chase the next thing. It's like, well, okay, what if instead we built muscles in certain areas? That way, when we want to make at some point down the line a 2-minute video that perfectly works in all of our clients' products, when AI gets 2 years better or whatever, however long it takes AI to do that, we've got the skill set built up by starting with 3-second hooks that are weird, and that becomes the way we think about it in the writing process. Like I was even thought, like, can we build that? This is an idea I haven't shared with you yet, but like, can we get Prometheus, our co-writing tool, to actually like give us, as one of the kinds of output that it gives us, like the weird AI hook ad? And it's like, so it gives us our core storytelling frameworks, which we use a lot, right? And we talk about this a lot. Like there's these core kind of storytelling frameworks we use for our ads, and we're building those and adding to the tool all the time. So we have more and more of those to work from, et cetera. That's just a slow and steady game. But what if one of those core frameworks could be, okay, Prometheus, help us get weird here, basically, and think about like what would be a crazy way visually to demonstrate the kind of thing you're doing. Like one idea I had, for example, was like, could we do an ad about bloating where as a woman is eating, her stomach is just like expanding drastically, like absurdly, and then the copy overlay is something like, or hook overlay is something like, this is what a lot of people feel like when they're eating, and nothing they can do seems to stop it. And then so it'd obviously be AI and obviously be fake, but maybe it would be really attention grabbing. And then you just go into the explainer ad format that we normally use, but it becomes a way to grab attention and be interesting. And that to me is like the potential next thing to do that. But then we have to actually build. We don't just want to like tell creative people go use Sora. That like we do want to do them. We do want to do that at some point. But we actually want to also say like, how can we build a repeatable process for working that in as like one of the options on the table for the kinds of ads that we make? That's the way I'm thinking about it right now. Literally every one of the full growth strategy clients that we have at AJF Growth uses INTELLIGEMS to do their CRO testing. And CRO is really the wrong word for INTELLIGEMS. It is conversion rate optimization, but it's so much more. INTELLIGEMS is an incredible tool that I've come to see as just sort of a core part of every brand's tech stack if you are building a D2C business, where you can maximize not just the conversion rate of your traffic, but actually the profit of every click that comes through your business, because INTELLIGEMS is built to help you test the biggest needle movers on your website that actually make a big impact on how your customers are interacting with your products, how much they're spending, and critically to measure that at the level of profit, because IntelliGems ties into your data on your site, your actual COGS data that you put into Shopify, as well as shipping costs and all those things. And then every time you run a test on your site, you get an output based on how much actual profit you are getting per customer. So that means it holds variables like conversion rate, average order value, and unit costs and shipping costs and all those things, holds all those constant as you run tests. So you can see the most important output on your metrics. And critically, you can also do that while testing the most important things on your website. Certainly, you can run standard content tests, and IntelliGems is very easy to set up for that kind of thing. If you want to run landing page A versus landing page B, that's a good use of IntelliGems. Go do that, right? But beyond that, you can do so many other things. You can run price tests. I have one client who's constantly been testing his prices over a long period of time and finding where the trade-offs are between conversion rate, AOV, and profit using IntelliGems. Free shipping thresholds, how much you're charging for shipping, site-wide offers. Like, should you just offer everybody 10% off if they sign up for your email list and are new customers, or should you do a stack discount where it's 10, 20, 30% off depending on how much is on your cart, etc. Those things have a really big impact on how much money you generate from the customers who come to your website and how they move through your website, through your store, through your products, through their experience with your brand. So you should be testing them, not just guessing at them, and you should do it with IntelliGems. You can also get 20% off your first 3 months by going to intelligems.io and using the code FARIS20. FARIS20. There's only one R in there and an A, not an E. FARIS20, FARIS20 to get 20% off your first 3 months. Go to intelligems.io to get started today.
Yeah. I think about it the exact same way, but then I come to the roadblock of, well, I actually don't know that these clients would be interested in, like, we say we want to use these tools and do fun, crazy things, but like if you actually showed, that client the AI video of a woman's, stomach getting bloated, like would that client actually go for it?
I think so. I'm thinking through our client roster right now. I think all of them would probably say yes. And they might say no, but that's okay. That's the reality of design and edit work in general, is that there's going to be brand standards that limit you from doing some things. And I think brands should do that. Brands ought to have some things that they call it there. So yeah, I think a lot of them would. And I also think, even aside from that, I think the clients would just love to see us playing with stuff like that and getting creative and interesting. Even if they said, that's like a bridge too far for us, we think we applaud the effort. I think they would all experience that as good, creative, leading edge thinking, especially if we could replicate it, especially if it was like every week they were getting ads like that were just different and interesting and weird and things like that. And I mean, honestly, the other thing here is, like, with manual bids, no kidding, like with bid caps and target ROAS, like, the thing is, if the ad doesn't work, it just won't spend. So it's like there's relatively little risk. A lot of our clients have really embraced that idea that, like, you have a sort of strong incentive to throw things at the wall, unless you're really, really uncomfortable with the brand kind of perception. So I don't know, maybe the stomach expanding would be uncomfortable in some way specifically, but you could come up with something else weird, Sure.
Well, with Sora, I think we're the closest we've ever been. And like, I think we're at a point where it makes sense to try to go implement what you just outlined, because I think Sora gets us as close as we need to be. There's going to be mistakes and things to work through. And like, we're going to have people that kind of start to become prompting experts, on these models. But like, just an hour of playing with it yesterday, I realized, I'm kind of an expert on prompting how to eat fruit. It's like, okay, it doesn't do this well. So what if I said it like this? And like, the more you play with it, the more you kind of get the hang of how you need to prompt it and get it to do. So like, we could, I think what I'm saying is, like, we could probably go build that, muscle, start to build it, essentially now.
And well, so this gets into some other things I want to talk about, but like, this is where like AJF growth was never going to work with me leading it. Cause like, when I tell you this is the vision that I have for how I think this could work, I'm thinking backwards to some ads that actually we looked at in the Philippines in January before you had come on. And we called them the meme hook ad. And there were these ads that were like, there were these videos that people had pulled, that team members in the Philippines had pulled as like ad inspo, that was like all of this like really funny stuff. Like one of them is like somebody is in a, like, what looks like a coffee shop, picks up a big bag of trash to go take it out to the trash, throws it over her shoulder. And as she throws it over her shoulder, she falls backwards onto the ground because the weight of the trash bag pulls her back. And this is like a 100% real video, right? This is way before AI. Somebody used that, and then they used that video as the hook for like a piece of viral content or whatever, and they blended that video into whatever story they were telling, so that like as she fell down, they sort of seamlessly edited into something else. And there's like a lot of really funny stuff like that. And one of the problems, right, with doing that for ads is that like that content is owned by somebody. So you have to license it if you want to try and use it in an ad. So like using GIFs and memes a lot of times gets you into like legal questions and things like that. Well, with Sora, it's like, okay, now you can just go recreate it, right? And so anyway, so I love this idea of being able to do this, but the place that I get stopped is that, and again, this is why this partnership exists, right? Is like I hear that and I'm like, the idea of moving from that idea to creating a process for exploration and measurement and understanding if this is even worth our time, replication, and actually not only that, but now we already do have some established like creative strategy work. So we don't just have to like create the process for this. We actually have to create the process within an existing framework of process where that is there. So you say, well, we could go do that right now. And like my question for you, and this is really me asking, is can we? How long does it take for us to build that into our process? Like, you know,
well, as you're talking,
so hard for me.
It's actually kind of crystallizing a little bit, and I want to tell you what I think, and I'm interested in your feedback. So we build currently, and I want to continue to hone our thinking and our process around it, but we build everything around the angle, which I want to actually start referring to internally as the message, because I think that's a better word. And it's the same word that Meta uses. But let's just call it the message. We build everything around the message. We start with the message. That is the core. And if we're doing our job right, I was talking to our growth strategist the other day about this, one of our growth strategists, like we are, you know, the list of messages we use, we explore, we expand, we test per brand, like we should almost have a database of messages per brand. And then, then we can, let's say I've got a database of all the different messages we're testing or using concurrently. I can go task somebody as a full-time job or a part-time job to just go try to come up with funny, exciting, interesting hooks for those messages, regardless of the contents of the ad. So let's say the message is, your kids are going to love this fruit more than candy, because it's so sweet, go make a bunch of hooks, So I sent one the other day of like kids testing this fruit and talking about, wow, it's amazing. I don't ever want to eat candy again. Like, you don't need to know the rest of the ad to go make that 6-second hook. So we could literally have somebody's job is just constantly cranking out hooks, for specific messages. And then going, kind of hook menu. Oh, there's a good one. I'm going to plug it into this ad. I don't know. How does that strike you?
I think you won't get it to a menu. Actually, I think you're thinking of the right idea. So one thing I believe about humans, first of all, we should say explore and expand is the way we think about creative in general, which is like explore is our way of saying find new messages that work for new audiences. So when you talk about the idea of reaching new audiences that you're not currently reaching, a lot of times, like all other things being equal, an oversimplified version, we call that explore. Expand is when you say, like, you do the thing that every advertiser has ever done, which is you say, like, okay, here's what's working for our customer and for our brand. Go make more ads that communicate this same message. And so that's the way we categorize our ads. Okay, those are the two main categories of ads that we make, and very purposefully think about them in separate buckets and our whole process around them in separate buckets. So that's the way we think about it. So what I think is, like, even that framework, like a thing I've thought for a long time is that one of the mistakes people make with advertising and creative strategy is that they go and hire extremely creative people to go make ads. And that sounds like a weird thing to say as a mistake, but what I really mean is, like, I think that the thing that makes an ad work is the message. And that means that, like, the thing you really need is a clear thinker first and foremost. Like, this is like the core skill of a copywriter for ads, is like somebody who can put together a script that follows logically, or a message that follows logically, that makes sense logically to do that. Now, it doesn't have to actually be the form of like an essay or something like that, but they have to have very clear ideas in their head of what the messages they're trying to communicate, and then think about how different elements of communication, which include visual elements, but different elements of communication can effectively communicate that message, and how you organize and build hierarchy around the messaging. That's super hard work. But if you start with a visually creative person, like a lot of times my experience with those kinds of people is that they're amazing and brilliant. They do all kinds of really cool things, but they're not always typically, I mean, you don't think of the art people, as like the rigorous line by line thinkers. You think of them as people who go do crazy stuff, right? And it's a beautiful gift. So it's not to come down at all, but anyway, but Sora 2 now opens up a new possibility where it's like, or just AI in general, and this way of thinking that you're talking about opens up a new possibility, which is like, maybe this is the place for the creative person to go thrive. And that's actually really not me so much. I don't know, but it's where it's like, hey, here's the message we want to communicate. Get weird. Like you want, again, like you now have Hollywood level CGI in your pocket, essentially, You can do anything you want. You're completely unlimited. If you want a monster crawling on the Empire State Building, and fighting King Kong or Godzilla, or I don't even remember, like you can do it, it's just like, it's all available to you. And so maybe this is what we do, is we set up certain kinds of people in the organization to say, hey, we want you to be the people who are in charge of like, here's the message, here's the thing we're trying to get to, come up with a really creative first 3 seconds that gets us into that message, that serves the message. Still, it has to serve the message. That's the only constraint. Otherwise, the world's your oyster. That's the way. That's kind of what I'm thinking about. Serious Meta ads and other paid traffic marketers understand the need for customized funnels as you reach different audiences. We're talking about it in this episode, the idea that we are trying at different times to have different messages reaching different audiences with the same products or with the same brand of different products in your portfolio, which means the notion of having just one website that you send all of those customers to is sort of silly. What FERMAT has come and done is made it very possible to create essentially bespoke, customized experiences down to the level of different angles for your ads, so that as you run your ads, where you're approaching different audiences with different messages, you can also create different landing page experiences way beyond the landing page itself. So it starts certainly with landing pages and pre-sale pages and those kinds of things, but FERMAT also helps you build quickly and easily and without being a burden, without touching anything on the main website and screwing up the brand, all those things. You can go and build custom PDPs with custom thumbnail imagery, which is really important in conversion rate optimization. You can build custom upsells and custom cart experiences in all of those different custom funnels. And so it allows you to build a really consistent and custom messaging for different things, and critically to test it quickly and easily in FERMAT, where you get all the input and output that you need. I've seen great success with this with clients of mine who have used it, and you should check it out for yourself as well. So go to fermatcommerce.com/AF, fermatcommerce.com/AF to see if it's the right tool for you to build better, more custom funnels for the different audiences that you're reaching. fermatcommerce.com/AF.
Yeah. And just like to get down to brass tacks, like the way I see it is, we do a lot of like the format of our video ads, which is what we're talking about, is like a long form explainer or like a UGC video, and usually the opening scene is somebody talking to the camera, kind of starting the storytelling of the ad. Not always, but it almost doesn't matter what the, let's say you go do the crazy 3 to 5 second hook. It almost, in some cases, if the message is coherent, it almost doesn't matter what comes after that hook in some ways, as long as the message is tied between the two. So in that way, like you can basically kind of set your hook creative person off to just go do creative things without really regard to anything other than it's got to serve the message. So anyways.
Yeah, no, I agree. Finding the process-oriented way to set people up to do that, I think, is the question. And it's like, coming up with, creative things. I wonder if there's also a thing where like ad inspo becomes a bigger part of the equation, because a lot of times my experience with when people post ad inspo stuff in different channels is like, it's sort of unreachable. Like it's like a lot of it is just like, that sounds fine, but I got to go get a client to pick up a camera and pay somebody and do all that stuff. Or I got to go find these things. But now it's like, man, what if you could prompt your way to like recreating exactly what you want? It becomes maybe more part of it. But I think we're gonna have to push our team to get weird, and I think that's a big part of the thing for me. Is like that's the thing is like try to be weird. I saw a Sora 2 video the other day. I think you might have even been the one to post it. I don't know, but it's like somebody at like looks like a high school football game or something like that walks up to a probably 80-year-old woman in the stands. Did you see this?
Oh yeah, like
with a t-shirt cannon.
Shoots her with a t-shirt cannon. Yeah,
right in the chest. From point blank.
Yeah.
That was so funny. Was funny.
Was that the red pill for me or the blue pill? That was the pill for me where I'm like, okay, we're there. Like we are there. Yeah. Like the only thing holding AI back is the audio has kind of a tell to it. Like the spoken audio, you can tell that it's AI. But other than that, like the video is just in a lot of cases beyond recognizable.
Well, if I was using that video in an ad, I would have cut off the last 2 seconds or 3 seconds, and I would have cut off probably the first 1 second where he's walking up to her. So it would have been right up to her with the t-shirt cannon. You'd have gotten the blast, the old lady falls, and then it would cut to like, hey, does this weird thing ever happen to you or whatever? You know, like I don't know exactly whatever the product would be. You know, like but like and that's part of the thing I like about this idea is that like those things that are the tells on AI. I think with a 3 to 4 to 5 second version of this stuff, you could edit them out. And so it sort of removes another barrier to using this stuff. That's my feel right now is like, so how do we do it? Okay, let's talk about process. Cause this is like when I look at CTC, who I think is just best in class at a lot of things in the agency space. The thing I come back to all the time, and you and I have talked about this, is just that like, at some point, Taylor got serious about the idea that every thought he had about what works for brands needs to be drilled into at the level of clarity to his thinking. So he forced himself to get really clear about the idea. It's fine to say you should have a lean OpEx. Well, how lean? And then how do you measure that? And what counts as OpEx? And how do you show that to somebody? And okay, like those kinds of things. You can't just say you run a lean OpEx. And how do you do it? How do you go get a lean OpEx? Whatever. So there's just this endless thing. Okay, great. Cohort forecast. When? What time period? How do you deliver it? Okay, that means a certain daily spend gets forecasted out by campaign. That's years of work, right? Like, and so I'm not expecting us to get there overnight. But what is occurring to me as like I think about this idea of Sora hooks and creative is like it just feels so difficult to me. But it also feels like the task of the agency life to say, like, you and I are sitting on this call and saying, we believe this would sell products for our clients, right? This would help them grow businesses. Now we have to institute it in a way that's replicable. Like, it just feels so hard. Now, to you, maybe it doesn't feel that hard, but to me, it feels like extremely hard. So, I mean, where does your mind go with the ability for us to turn that into a process?
It doesn't feel hard to me. Where things start to I'll just say overwhelm me a little bit are not like this is so simple to go figure this out, but it's how does this tiny piece fit into the larger thing of all the different things we're doing. So we've got a digital asset management system. So like these assets have to make it into there. We've got like a weekly cadence where we're identifying our priorities. We've got certain people doing different things. So I'm going, okay, who am I going to assign to this? How does it fit into our weekly cadence? How do we actually keep track of what they're producing and giving feedback on if it's good or not? So like, the actual task of going and making hooks on Sora is no big deal, but how do we plug it into all of the pieces of what we're already doing? But in short, like, I think it's just as simple as start with one brand, go, it can be a gut feel. It can be a go back through the last 60 days of creative and go, what are the top messages we're spending on over the last 60 to 90 days? Go identify the top 3 to 10 messages and then go put those in a database or just in a document and then go assign somebody and say, your new job, 1 day a week, you're going to spend on, or half a day a week, you're going to spend on just making as many hooks you can when it comes to these messages. And here's kind of some general outlines, some general guidelines on how we think you should do it. You can use Prometheus to come up with ideas. This is kind of what we think good work is versus bad work, and just send them off and go have them make, 20 different hooks, and then make it a part of your weekly review cadence where you go through those hooks and go, that's a really good one. Let's make sure that gets briefed next week.
That's interesting. So you turn the hook because the hook is downstream from the message, but then it's almost like you would go back upstream and like say, okay, now this is a really cool hook.
Well,
so
no,
or like
don't hear me say that. Yeah, I think I did say that, but that's not what I meant. Maybe what I should have said is, now we've got this whole library of hooks that we've got organized by message. And next time an editor is working on an ad that has that message in it, he or she goes to that library and goes, that's a great hook that seems to kind of go in line with this asset I'm making.
Except I think then you're going to run into the thing, and I think Meta's doing a lot of things to try to cut this off, where like essentially you're going to have multiple hooks on one ad, where it's like one body and all that. It sounds like what you're describing, and I think we're going to run into an issue there.
Well, I don't know how to define it right.
Yeah.
I don't think so. Like, let's say we got the message. Just think of it like a folder in Frame, which is our digital assets management system. But just think of Google Drive. You got a message folder, and in that folder is like 20 hooks that somebody has been working on over the past few weeks. And when I say hooks, they're like 5-second hook videos. Now, when so-and-so is editing this video that has that same message, he goes to that folder and he goes, that one seems to work really well with what I'm editing. I'm going to use that over here. Now, if you want part of the process to go, okay, now he has to mark that one as used and it can't ever be used again, fine. If you want it to be able to be used again in the future, fine, no big deal. But, he's basically kind of picking from a menu of hooks to include in his asset. Does that make sense, kind of what I'm saying?
It does. What I'm actually wondering, though, is if we should do the downstream then back upstream approach. Like, what I kind of wonder is, like, there's an interesting idea here where it's like it's almost like you give a creative person the message, and then you say to them, I want 10 hooks that could conceivably be related to this message, and you go make the hook in Sora with a prompt, and then you also write a note next to the hook that says something like, here's the way I imagine this, and maybe this is what a creative strategist is now, I don't know. Here's the way I imagine this connecting to the message. So I'll just use my example earlier. It's a anti-bloating supplement. And then you write like, okay, I had this idea. The woman's stomach expands to an absurd length as she's eating. Okay. And here's how it connects the bridge from the hook to the rest of the message, to the rest of the ad is, does it feel like this most times you eat? For a lot of women, it does. Or for a lot of women, this is what it feels like most of you eat, something like that. And now you go back upstream, which is like, okay, so now you have to go from there to connect out to what is still like the same core message, which is like, this supplement helps you not bloat. And here's why, right? It's because of the probiotics, and it's like, and so it's like all of the normal product details, and then you go do it again. So it's like, okay, the next one is another bloating one, and it's like, it's a view of the inside of somebody's stomach, and you're it's like two humans in there looking around, oh, look at that, I can see it getting bigger, something like that. And then it's the same thing, so yeah, that's like the thought that I have is like, could you do it that way? Or do we just need to tell people like, go make an ad? Like, don't build a library. Don't do 20 hooks at a time. Like, just like go make an ad.
I think we're kind of saying the same thing, but what I'm saying is like a caveman version of what you're saying, which is literally like, okay, go make that bloat hook that you're talking about. You could literally take that hook and put it in front of any asset we've ever made about bloating and just have it be the first 3 seconds. Like, it doesn't necessarily have to have a nice transition into the rest of the ad. Now, it might, and it should, but like, you could literally go from that to talking head, because most of our talking head stuff starts with something like, is bloating a problem for you? Do you experience bloat? It's like, it doesn't necessarily have to have like a real cohesive tie-in. Now, it can, like in version 2 of this process, but literally right now, all I'm advocating is just go do something fun and hooky and then go straight into the ad.
We should do this. So here's what we should do. This should be an actionable next step coming out of this podcast right now, and then let's report on it after we do it. Okay. I bet we can get this done within a month. The concern I have about that idea is that Meta is going to see that ad and the one you built it off of as too similar. And so
to be clear, I'm not saying launch both of them. I'm just saying.
I know, but if you have a winning ad from the past and you're just adding a new hook to it or something like that,
I'm not saying we go
Like-
back and do that. I'm saying for future ads that we make, we go use the hook, and then it doesn't matter what comes next.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, but so how, maybe I don't understand. How is that different from the idea that you would attach it to the front of an existing ad?
Well, I'm not saying reuse old ads.
You're saying just write an expand ad.
Yes.
Just write a new ad.
As long as it's about bloating. Doesn't matter.
That's interesting. Let's try it. Okay, we can try that. So use the standard long form explainer.
Yeah.
And we should have like the standard people do this.
Yes,
there's
exactly.
There's gonna be some operational challenges here, which is like, okay, now you have a new hook, and that means you need a new script, so you need somebody to go read the script or whatever. But you're right, you don't have to have that person go make anything related to that content. The hook kind of stands alone as its own unit.
Exactly.
And I like that.
You don't even have to have the hook generator talking to the video editor.
Interesting.
Like Dino just goes and makes his ad, and he leaves an extra 5 seconds at the beginning, and then eventually he's either at the very beginning or maybe at the end of his making the ad, he goes, "Oh, I like that. That's a fun hook. Let's throw that in there. Let's see how it works." Does that make sense? What I'm saying?
Yeah, I would have somebody brief it to Dino ahead of time, or tell Dino he has to do this for a couple of these ads, right? So you go film
ahead of time. Yeah, the brief includes this is part of the process that you've got to go pick a hook that we've pre-generated for you. But
we should do this. Go ahead.
The reason I'm scoping it like that is because this is by far the easiest way, I think, to kind of start to test and build that muscle a little bit. Okay.
Yeah. And then, we should definitely go do this. We should go take a couple of winning ads. And what we should do is we should give like 3 or 4 people in the organization. It should be me and you, and it should be Dino's actually a great example of this. Dino's super creative.
We could incentivize the best hooks.
Yeah,
somehow.
I like this.
Best hook rate. What's the metric in Facebook? That it's
it's just spend. Just spend. It's all
but specifically when it comes to hook. But I get your point.
You could do hook rate, but hook rate ratio metrics are annoying. Anyway, there's too many contextual factors, but I think it should just be spend. But that does create its own challenge. But anyway, I actually think in that process somewhere, one thing we should do is this hook would be so different than the rest of the ad that we should actually take a couple of old winners and just throw another hook on the front as well as part of the process and see if Meta reads it as a new ad or not. Because I know Meta's trying to read it as a different as the same ad, but somewhere in that process, just go take our best performing bloat ad and just go
throw a hook on it.
Throw a weirdo hook on the front.
That flies against everything you've always said about iterations and expanding.
Well, yeah, because Meta's actively trying to keep you from doing this, basically. Yeah.
But you're curious just to test it, see what happens.
It should be fast. You should be able to go, and those first 3 to 5 seconds will be so different that it may create enough distinction that it works. What I really resist is change the headline. That's not different enough. But this is if you start with fully different 3 to 5 seconds of the video, so. Okay. All right. You know what you're going to do here? We'll come back and report on it.
I think so.
We should see if we can get permission from our client to share it too.
Oh, that'd be fun. Yeah. The only thing is
we should try it with our newest client. Our newest client, who who I'm talking about right now. Mm-hmm. I bet he would be down to share.
Oh, yeah. That's definitely the best place to start.
Yeah. And the bloat client is also probably open to sharing, but I'm not sure about that. Okay. So anyway. Yeah.
Love it.
Okay, great. And then you have to tell me what you need me to do in this process. That's fun.
Sign up for Sora. Go sign up for Sora right now. Or not right
and
now,
subscribe to this podcast. Don't miss the episode where we come back and we'll show the ad. If we can get any permission at all to show the ad, we will show it. So,
okay, cool.
And especially if it works. So, yeah. I like that. I think that's the use of Sora that I'm interested in. So that's great. Okay,
that's why we're recording this podcast. Look at us, dude. Look at us.
I know. Getting work done.
Yeah,
it's good. Repeatable process. Let me say one more thing about repeatable process. I've had a couple people email me recently about wanting to work with us, and I've had to tell them the same thing, which is that we're probably looking at spring next year as the time when we actually start taking on new clients realistically. So a couple people have been yep, just let me know when the time comes. Obviously they may have a different agency by then, and I hope they find somebody great to work with and their business grows, and that's totally fine. But as we're kind of looking at those things, you and I are saying we're going to slow down to speed up here. The idea is build really, really good foundations so that we can create repeatable results over and over. So as I've been talking to those people, one of the things I keep using this phrase that an agency is operationalized knowledge. That's what an agency is. Fundamentally, at its core, that's what an agency is. And so there's two elements of that. One is you need good knowledge. So for example, it's possible that these hooks don't perform at all. Sora 2 hooks are bad. And no matter how good you are at the process, people just read them as AI immediately, or Meta reads them as something, and they just never work. And so you can build an incredible process for a really bad idea, and it's not a very good use of your time. On the other hand, there's this thing that happens a lot in these conversations, and that has been defined a lot of the shortcomings that I've had, which is like, and I've had a million conversations like this, really cool idea. We really believe it'll work. We're going to try and do it. We're really going to try. And then it just kind of withers and dies because there's no way to follow up on it or go create it or whatever. And that's the operationalization problem. And the more that you and I work on this together, the more I see the like grind challenge of both of those elements, which is like, first of all, discerning truth is difficult work. And it changes in the world of advertising, right? Like the UGC ad worked great for forever. And then like, does it even really work anymore? I don't know. so you have to have an assessment of like that kind of thing. Partnership ads is all the rage right now. What happens when that changes, and everybody's just like, I don't know, everybody's bought and paid for. And I don't know, whatever. I'm just making that up. Like, I think they probably work great, but like, so there's a hard work of doing that. And then, and the macroeconomic situations changing, all those things. But then there's also this really, really hard work of turning those ideas, even when you get to truth, into prioritized, operationalized, like work that actually gets done. And so what I keep telling people who reach out is like, if you're going to find another agency, this is the thing to prioritize, is like try to find people who you believe, as best as you can tell, have the best knowledge, and they should at least have some level of conviction about that knowledge, and they should be able to state it themselves. But then they should be able to show you that they can actually implement it. And so anyway, so this is just like a State of the Union question, but like, how are you feeling about our ability to do that these days, and sort of where are we good at it? Where are we bad at it? Where are we getting better at it?
Yeah. Well, I love that metaphor, and I actually use it a lot in my thinking and in talking to people. And I think it's also convenient that it describes you and I well. I'm the operational, you're the knowledge, and there's certainly overlap between those, but that's our core focuses. And we're both very happy to have those be our things. I would say where I kind of I think we're doing a really great job. Like, if you think I kind of started in July-ish, and then mostly, kind of August onwards. So like, we've only been operationalizing things for, a few months, and like, we've come a long way. The tension that I feel, you kind of alluded to, which is there's this constant tension between, okay, I want to operationalize. Well, actually, I'll start here. We want to move fast. We want to break things. We want to do great work. We want to like go do exciting things. We want to go like, there's like all these shiny objects. It's like, hey, we want to go do all these things. So like, I've got this, and we've got clients who are going, hey, what are you doing with AI? Have you tried this? Have you looked into this? So there's like this constant, and then I posted on X the other day about like, the Slack culture, which is always on, always, everything's urgent, so there's this constant tension between, hey, we got to go do good things fast. And then there's this other side of, well, in order to do a lot of good things, you actually have to go slow. And then, so like where I wind up is, what's that saying? Like, slow is steady, and steady is fast, or something.
That's right.
Do you know? Is that
slow, slow, steady, steady's fast. Yeah.
Steady's fast. So like, that's kind of where I land, which is like, I want my team to not feel like everything is urgent. I want them to be able to understand what's important, and then I want them to be able to know what they need to do to go do those important things. And we're getting better and better at that, but that's like a massive hill to climb, especially when we're literally figuring it out every single day. We're like, okay, we've got like this hook conversation we've had. Like, I got to go, okay, it's a good idea. How do we go operation? So I'm always throwing like new operational things into the mix constantly. And then two, once I throw it in there, it's going to change, and so it's like the engineer in me wants to create, a nice box, and like hand it over and be like, it's done. But like, it's never really done. It's always changing, and it's always kind of getting bigger. And like I kind of alluded to this in an earlier conversation, the tendrils between things are always kind of multiplying. And so since I'm the one kind of holding it all together right now, that feels a little, at times, it feels a little overwhelming. But, when I really step back and look at the progress we've made and where we are and the work we're producing, I think we're doing a killer job, and I'm excited about where we are.
I think that's right. It was helpful for me to think back to like when you were at Supply and getting agency services from people.
Yeah.
I think you would be really pleased to get our service level right now.
Yes.
Right. Like,
yes.
I think right now you like, I'm putting words in your mouth there, but I just think there'd be stuff you'd see as shortcomings, but stuff that is also like, this is really good. I feel that way, certainly.
I think the clients also, I think they valued my input, or they have valued the kind of calm and order that I've brought to a lot of the chaos, because clients, and I say this about myself, like it's funny when I work with clients, you and I have this conversation a lot. I'm like, yeah, that was me. Like I did those things, I was the one like, constantly chasing shiny things. And like, there's never a situation where we're working with a client and we're like, what do you like? I'm never like, what are you talking about? Like, where did you get, like, I'm always like, yeah, I know exactly. But my point is, like, I was a chaos machine as a client, probably with the agencies I worked with. And I always appreciated, when agencies came in and brought kind of order to the chaos, and maybe even forced me to fit into kind of their systems. Even if I didn't always love them, I at least respected them and like understood that the output was good. So that's kind of my goal, being on the other side of the table with our clients.
I think that's right. And yeah, and I think you're right that clients have appreciated that. I also think that that one of the challenges I feel in this scenario of sort of building process steadily and slowly and then resisting the chaos element of work is that my theory right now is that the way to resist the chaos factory is not primarily by setting boundaries around tools, for example, or like, hey, don't talk to us here, we're off work at 5, don't text me, whatever. But it's actually to build such a sturdy process and sort of machine that it functions so effectively that clients actually don't want us to spend our time doing anything else. And it almost becomes an opportunity selection thing where like we say, to the client, like, while it's possible we could go do this thing that you are asking us to do over here, we actually think if we do that, that will take our time away from this. And we're pretty confident that there'll be an ROI on this over here because we've done it a million times and we're also really good at it and we have a repeatable process and all of these reasons. We think it's the best use of our time and we've also invested the most in making it good. So, those things together. So it's like then it's like you put that in such a way where the client then believes we actually just want them spending time on the thing that they think it's best to spend time on, because when they do that, it creates a thing. So it's like, so then that will have a natural resistance to tool proliferation and to all these things, is because we are then delivering our service and delivering our process so consistently. And also, like, I think clients can feel, any partner in things can feel when there is like replicable thoughtfulness in what somebody you're working with is doing. You can feel the professionalism in it. And so it's like, okay, great. That will sort of set the client at ease that they don't need to tell us what to do, and then just resist that. So what I have done a lot in the past is say, like, okay, this is the thing that we are not going to do, and this is the thing we are going to do. And you kind of set up these rules and, like I said, boundaries for different things. And I just think that is actually sort of almost like the rules and the boundaries are like the output, actually. of something where you've already inputted a bunch of other things. Like they're byproducts. They're byproducts. That's the word I was looking for. They're byproducts of a bigger thing. And that the more we build our thing to be repeatable and good, and the more we have clients who came in via the repeatable process, as opposed to like clients who've been working with me for a while and experienced my sort of like being all over the place at times and some of that stuff. I think clients who are more used to that, I think will feel that.
Yeah, that's just a long way of saying something else you always say, which is basically performance solves all problems. And I would add performance and trust solves all problems. It's like, so I think of our newest client, like, we don't have performance yet because he's brand new, but we have trust. Like we're walking into that relationship with trust. And so every time I suggest something or I'm like, hey, this is how we're going to do such and such, they're like, great, no problem. Like whatever you want to do, just tell us, because there's such a level of trust there. And there's also, I imagine, a sense of like I don't care how you do it. This is what I'm paying you to do. Like, go figure it out. It's like, just tell me what you need from me, and I'm going to stay out of it. And I don't know if that's how that client particularly views it, but like,
close.
There's certainly a sense of it.
It's precisely what you said. It's not because they're hands off. It's not because they're being lazy about their business. It's the opposite. They're just saying like, there's limited resources. I have a very high amount of trust in you. I think you guys doing your thing will be the best thing for us.
Yeah.
And that's a good point. Like, and that will sort of create the tiers, and now we have to go do it. And one of the things I think about this whole thing is like I just look at where we've come and I go like, man, I think in 6 months, like we're going to be really, really, really good. And then in 6 more months, we're going to be even better. It's like, I feel like one of the things I feel really good about right now is that just like clients who stay with us over the long term, it's actually a hard thing to assess with almost any vendor partner of any kind, is like, how much does their past reflect their future? Because I think our past is going to be real different than our future in a lot of ways, and that our future will be really positive. It's not just because I'm optimistic. It's because I'm looking at the work we're doing and going like, oh yeah, this is like, we're just going to keep getting better at this stuff.
Yeah.
All right, that's great. I would love people's comments and questions on this episode. And so just leave that in the comments. I interact with and try to respond to all those. You should also email me at podcast@ajfgrowth.com. And like I said, do subscribe if you want to see what happens with the stuff that we just talked about here. By the way, Patrick, did my audio change quality mid-call?
I don't think so. I didn't notice it, but it may have.
So then it was bad the whole time? I just realized. So if you're watching or listening to this, I think my mic had unplugged accidentally. So hopefully my audio is okay. But if you notice it was a little worse than usual, it appears to have been a technical issue and mistake.
Yeah, it seems fine to me.
Yeah, I think it's fine. But just didn't know. So, all right, cool. That's it. Anything else?
That's it, man. Look forward to next month.
All right, thanks. Yeah, it'll be fun.
See ya.
Thanks so much for watching or listening to this episode with Patrick. I really enjoyed that conversation. I'm really curious to see what comes out of it. It's really fun to be working with somebody where we start talking about an idea like this and like it happens. I don't have to go figure out a process for it because Patrick is much better at it than I am. And my team likes that way more too, because then it's not me fumbling around telling them random things to do with no expectations and timelines and all that stuff. So yes, I hope you enjoyed that episode. I think it's super fun. Please give me feedback on that. Like I said, podcast@ajfgrowth.com, or just leave a comment. I'd love to hear from you. You can see everything we're doing and join that waitlist if you'd like to at ajfgrowth.com, or just ask for my input on what's going on in your business. You can do that at podcast@ajfgrowth.com as well. And do subscribe, as I said, not only for those future episodes with Patrick, but I do have another episode with Taylor Holiday coming up very soon, so you're not going to want to miss that. Got Jordan Menard coming up soon and talk about some things we disagree about. We were supposed to have that a little while ago, had to get pushed back for a couple reasons, but that's still coming. So a whole bunch of really good stuff. Oh my goodness, I've got a business coming on, an operator coming on who's built like a $200-something million a year business, like a huge monster, ridiculous. I don't even know what the number is, but gigantic business. That's going to be great. So come check it out by subscribing. Make sure you don't miss it. You know what to do. I'll see you next time.